Good morning, everyone. Whew, it's still a little cold here, but it's supposed to get in the 60s today, so that's positive. It's funny because my mom took my kids for the weekend, and she's the type that stays up late and gets up late, and I'm the type that goes to bed early and gets up early. So I've been literally up for hours, and my kids are still sleeping. I'm like, I'm gonna go make a video because I feel called to. And anyways, has anyone noticed lately that it's becoming more and more apparent which timelines people are choosing? Emphasis on the word choosing. It's just really interesting. It really is. And it's like one of two directions that I see it going, right? That we all can see this. And it's like just me saying this is like the same old shit we've been hearing. But this whole concept of accountability really needs to be emphasized. This whole stop blaming people for where you are, and take the bull by the horns and do the work. And the work is the healing. It's not bypassing or blaming what happened to you on other people, right? So when it comes to choosing these timelines, it's either you're making the big scary changes, you're raising your vibration, you're taking that leap of faith into the unknown because you're surrendering it to the universe, right? You're not afraid, right? And the other timeline is clinging even more to that comfort zone, in that old stale energy, right? And being afraid to do life differently. Not happy, but thinking more of the same old shit that the Matrix tells you is the way to live your life. Thinking that just piling on more of that or trying harder is what is gonna free you from the chains of depression, from the chains of hating your job, your relationship, your marriage, your relationships with people in your family, your friendships. I mean, you could take it in so many different directions, but at the end of the day, it's just a fear-based timeline. And so when I see this, and then I see people, because I have to bring this up. I wasn't going to bring it up because I don't even want to. Like when people say something negative or something, or send me a message or about like something that I post, I usually will not even say anything about it because I don't bring energy to it. As soon as I see it, cancel, delete, block, I cancel that energy immediately because I choose not to interact with it. And usually I don't even get that much negativity on my page, The only thing that people do is like when I post funny shit and I'm being silly and sarcastic, sometimes I'll lose followers, which I don't care because I'm still going to be me and post things that I think are funny. And if it triggers you, then that's just something within you that you need to work on. I'm not doing this for followers. I'm being my authentic self, right? But anyways, Spirit had somebody send me a message in response to something I posted about taking accountability. Not, it's the same concept, like in like it wasn't even that much, and I deleted it so quick I can't remember it verbatim, but it was along the lines of like, things happen to people in their life. Their parents treat them a certain way or something happened to them, and then they cling to these fucking stories. Right? So this person's like, you have the right to feel that way. You shouldn't tell people that they're responsible for everything that happens to them. But you are responsible because the person, like say somebody did something to you in your childhood. They are just projecting their trauma onto you, right? So it's not your fault necessarily that it happened, but it is your responsibility to do something about it. And if you don't, you're just going to continue to project that same thing onto your own relationships, into your own life. Okay. And so I just found it really interesting that Spirit chose to co-create through something like that, And it's like, as quick as because stuff like that, like, if I'm reading, I won't even finish the freaking message. If I feel like there's some negativity or some bad vibes, I'll just delete it and block the person. Like, I literally have zero tolerance for anybody telling me what to post on my page. But I knew immediately it was just something that I needed to talk about. Because if somebody feels that convicted and that attached to a story, saying it isn't my fault that happened to me. No, it isn't. But it damn sure is your responsibility to do something about it. Because if you don't, like, that's the whole point of us coming in and into these bloodlines to heal all this trauma. How is it going to help anyone if we just continue to blame it? Blame it on the other person who blamed it on the person that did it to them, who blamed it on the person that did it to them. Right? And it's just stuck in victim mode. I'm a victim. And they do the same thing when they try to play us against each other in our culture. Like, perpetrator, victim. White man, black, minority. Doesn't even have to be black man, minority. And like, it was so funny because, like, I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to tell that story. But the point I'm trying to make is that people are attached to these stories they tell. That is why they're stuck in victim mode. That is why they always have an excuse to why they're allowed to feel a certain way. You can feel any way you want. But then at some point, at any given moment, it's your choice once you raise your consciousness and awareness to the point where you can see that, hey, I'm going to sit in this energy if I keep telling this story and focusing on it. Right? So, and that's exactly what happens. People just sit in that energy and they got every excuse in the book as to why they can't change, because this happened to me. I can't change my life because this happened to me. I can't change the way I feel because this happened to me. And you're right, because you're going to continue to focus on the shit that happened to you instead of actually do something about it. And you're going to continue to get that same result, that same feeling, that same vibrational frequency inside of your body. You're going to try to change things externally. Even if you do make big scary changes, if you don't do the healing work, you're just going to repeat a pattern. It's like, as simple as this shit is, it's more complicated. You can't just make a change but then stay in that same space. It is about the healing. So sometimes, like, when you're on the spiritual journey and you make a big scary change and then you still feel the same and you get into another relationship that's the exact same shit, or you go get a job and it's the exact same feeling, you're still unfulfilled. Or maybe you did go and try like your own independent business, but you're not getting the clients or whatever it is. It's because it's something deep within you that you have to look at. And yeah, you got to go back and look at the shit that happened to you in order to really figure out where it stems from. And then be able to come out of that space and recognize that those people who hurt you, that situation that hurt you, that thing that happened to you was not your fault. It was something else being projected onto you. Because as a child, you're innocent. Like, you come in and you're innocent. It's like shit happens to you because we're born into this world with so much contrast. But at some point, it's our job to wake up to who we really are. And it's not these characters that we're playing. It is not these characters. Like, this is just a snap of that's how quick the lifetime goes by. That's how quick I'm Kelsey for like a second. In the all, if you think about it as an entire whole, this is just one short incarnation. And the thing of it is this is such an important one, though. They all are, but this is like, we learn from every single one of them. We come in here to expand our consciousness. That soul, like, we're just a spark of the aspect. Like, our soul is incarnated in so many other places. This is just a little piece of it. Yet we want to come in and be so attached to the avatar, to the character we're playing. We want to tell the stories. Isn't it funny? Like, every time you meet somebody, you tell the same fucking stories. I notice this, like, you'll notice this with your parents a lot. It's like how many times you can tell the same story to people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, stop telling the same stories. And it's cool to have these memories. Honestly, I've forgotten a lot. Ever since I hit my spiritual awakening, a lot of memories are just gone. And I know that's part of the process. It's a little scary in the beginning because you don't fully understand a lot of it. I still don't. I'll never fully understand everything. Nobody will. If they tell you that they do, they're lying to you. Anyone who says they're enlightened isn't enlightened by the mere fact that they think they're enlightened. You feel me on that topic, you know? But yeah, it's like right now people need tough love, because at the end of the day, you're arguing, like, people who are attached to these characters, they're arguing for their own limitations. They're telling you every reason why they can't do something instead of saying, this is why I can do it. This is why making this different choice will create a different result in my life. And that's the whole aspect of one side of the spiritual community, which is the bypassing of, like, pretending everything's okay, still, like, staying in situations that don't feed your soul, and just, like, making excuses. It's like there's this denial camp, and then there's this victimhood camp. Like, this isn't happening to me. Everything's okay. I'm going to stay in my miserable marriage and my miserable job and still post all the fun stuff on Facebook and just pretend life's great. But it really, inside, I feel empty as fuck because I'm not connected to what my sole purpose and mission is in here. And that's to just do what I fucking love and stop being attached to things. Stop being scared to lose something. You have to not be afraid to fucking lose it all. Everything. Lose your job, lose your relationship, lose fucking your house, everything, and still be okay. Because at the end of the day, all those things, if you can't lose them and still be okay, it's because you're attached to them. It's because you don't operate from feeling good from in here. It's always reaching outside to feel good. If this doesn't happen, if my relationship doesn't stay together, I won't be good. If I'm not living in this town that I've always lived in my whole life, in my comfort zone, I won't be good. This is my piece of advice. If I lose my job that has big fancy benefits, I won't be good. My piece of advice is do the opposite of what you've always done if it's something that's not feeding your soul, and just try new shit. Who cares if it works or not? That's the whole point of growth, is trying shit and failing and trying shit and failing. And every single time you try, every single time you fail, that is where all the shit that you actually are looking for is. Because that is where the growth is. That is where you start to realize that it doesn't matter what happens, because I can be happy no matter what, because it comes from in here. I refuse to allow to give my power away to somebody that hurt me when I was a child. Or a situation, or make an excuse as to why I am the way I am because something that happened to me. You can use something that happened to you, as fuel to do better and to help others get through the same shit. Or you can tell them it's okay to feel that way. It is okay to feel that way, but it's not okay to stay that way. And I'm sick of people saying that shit, because it's not cool. It's just keeping people stuck. It's keeping people stuck. And that's what that person came at me with when I posted something about taking accountability for every single thing that's happened in your life, no matter what the fuck it is. It doesn't matter what it is. You can either stay in victimhood your whole life, or you can do something about it. You can take your power back. You give your power away to all those things that happen to you. Who cares if, like who cares? You don't have to mend any relationship. You don't owe anybody anything. But at the end of the day, it's your peace. It's your peace that still has like energy attached to these situations. You like have different pieces of you. Like, you just give them away to these situations, and we have to pull all those things back in and say, no. I know who I am. The world's not going to tell me who I am. Ever since you came out the womb, the world's been trying to tell you who you are, what you should do with your life. put you in schools because they want to create people into these like robotic factory farmed slaves, basically. And we bought into that shit. We have bought hook, line, and sinker. Our entire culture has bought into that shit. And now they're slipping into AI and inverting every fucking thing that there is out there. And isn't it funny how it parallels? Like, think about all the movements, the feminist movement, the all of it, right? The LGBT elemental P bullshit, okay? It's not that I'm against being gay or anything like that. What I'm against is trying to mold children and not let them just be and discover for themselves and manipulate their little minds. It's the inversion. But there's these parallels, right? Because you see the same people who are stuck in the inversion and who buy the bullshit are the same people that are in victim mode. This happened to me. I'm not saying everybody, but there's parallels. The trauma and the parallels and the putting the blinders on and keep being completely closed off to anything except for the camp that you want to believe in. That is just like, there's parallels to being in victimhood and being in that space. And they're very obvious if you open your mind to it. But if you just got your head stuck in one direction, you're only going to go in one direction. See, the best thing you could do to expand is try to see every single perspective there is. Try to take your mind down all those timelines, gather the information, and then just let it sit. Just surrender. Because now you know all the perspectives. Be attached to none of them. And then see what resonates with you. And you'll notice that your perspective isn't quite like anybody else's. Because it shouldn't be. Because you ain't anybody else. Your experiences in your life aren't exactly like anybody else's. Because the way you perceive what's going on in the world absolutely will be affected on maybe how you were brought up, or if you went to college, or what area of the world you lived in. Like, everything you believe is based off of all these fucking stories and programs. All these stories, all they are programs. And we get to decide if we're going to deprogram ourselves, get in this 0 point space, and not attach ourselves to any of it. And just be like, release all the bullshit, heal, so you can get to that space where your discernment is on point. You don't get tricked by the fuckery. You don't get tricked into victim mode. You don't get stuck in situations that you feel paralyzed in. You've got to put yourself out there and take a risk in life. People are afraid. You know what's weird? I'm such a dreamer, and I can come up with a million ideas, a million different timelines I could hop on right now, and then just sit and let the universe work it. But most people, like, I'll start talking about dreams and stuff, and the look on their face is just blank. Like, I could never do that. That's the energy I get. I could never do that. Not everybody, guys, but a lot of people are so stuck, they can't even dream. How the hell are you supposed to get unstuck when you don't even believe a dream could come true? A timeline, a possible timeline could happen, that you could actually take that energy and put it into action. It's like every little step is fearful. Even some people, like buying a house is more like in term financially better than like renting, right? You could literally cut your monthly payment in half just by buying a house, because a mortgage is cheaper than renting right now, right? But most people a lot of people are afraid of just the process of like the paperwork of buying a house. I'm just using examples, guys. But just think about all the little things. Some people are afraid to leave the town they live in. They're just like, they can't even like consider that shit. People live in fear, and then they project it onto you. And if you call them out, if you trigger them by even the littlest bit, straight into victim mode. Straight into victim. This is why I'm allowed to feel this way. I've always been the type of person that wants to spend about 5 seconds talking about the problem, and then we're going to talk about solutions and healing and understanding. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the healing for me was understanding that every single fucking thing that happened to me was not the person's fault or the situation's fault who created that environment for me to be in, right? Because they were just in their own trauma. So once you can get out of that blame and come into like forgiveness, the game fucking changes. Because you stop blaming the world for why you can't do things and you start realizing that you can fucking do anything. Especially now. Like, there's nothing you can't do. We got every piece of information we could ever want at the tip of our fingers. You can go on YouTube and literally look up how to do anything. Anything. If you want to do paperwork on a house and you have questions about things that you should be concerned about, go on YouTube, watch a bunch of videos about it. If you want a homestead and you don't know how to make a fence for your fucking goats, go look that shit up. You could do it with pretty much no cost. Literally, you can do all of these things. You want money to be excused? There's literally a way to do everything. You can make shit out of like old recycled things. People just have an excuse because they don't believe in themselves, and they don't believe in themselves because they're attached to these fucking stories and these characters that they're playing. And it's very limiting because that character is encompassed in this little space. But who you really are, every aspect of who you really are is complete expansion, can do anything, can co-create with the universe in any way. The only thing holding you back is your own limiting beliefs. That's it. And as far as it comes to like others who don't want to move on or who want to tell you like, you know, they have every excuse in the book not to move on, who cares? Don't even play in that energy. Like literally, it's not, let them be where they are. Yeah. The thing of it is that nobody wants tough love, but like, even if you notice, like if you watch people who channel and they channel something, they don't channel their higher self, they're channeling like a group or a being that has the best interest, the highest, it's a high vibration, you can feel that in you. Like a group like the Arcturians, they're very straightforward and to the point and tough love with it. And there's a reason why. And quite frankly, I don't know, like just the more I expand personally, I can't even imagine how like being in a higher space and then looking at human beings and the way they act and the excuses they make and like how they completely debilitate themselves, but they really have the capabilities that are just absolutely insane. It's hard to fucking watch. And that's why I feel like people need tough love. They need to hear that they're not a fucking victim. And I don't feel like, and that, like literally my heart is so expanded right now when I say that. So when you tell someone like that's not an excuse to not do something with your life, whatever happened to you, and they get triggered by that, it's because they're afraid to move. They're afraid. That's all it is fear. You're choosing a timeline of fear. You're bypassing what you really have to look at. Because part of the healing is looking at it and just forgiving it and not allowing it to cripple you in fear anymore. If you're still in fear, it's just more healing that needs to be done. That's it. And we all still have fear in different aspects. This healing process is infinite and it just never freaking ends. Because the universe will never stop expanding. And that's all we are, is an aspect of the universe. So how are we going to help it expand? You're not expanding by blaming others or any situation. I literally grew up in complete filth, had head lice, everything, and was completely neglected from ages 0 to 8. And I don't blame my mom for that. I don't blame her for her drug use. I don't blame her for being a stripper. I don't blame her for taking me to work with her. Like, I don't blame her for any of that. I don't blame her. I had to go through a lot of shit because of the trauma I experienced. But as soon as I recognized that, it took me 30 years. As soon as I stopped blaming people, holy shit, I used to always blame my dad because I felt like he took me away from my mom even though she neglected me, right? And put me into a prison because he literally was very authoritarian type parenting. And I felt like I was in a prison, and I had to, as soon as I freaking had my awakening and I started letting go of that, I went from talking to my dad, literally 2 5-minute phone calls on my birthday and Christmas, and his birthday or whatever, to having a very close relationship with him. And it was just like, I finally accepted him for who he was, right? And I accepted that none of what happened in my childhood was his fault or my mom's fault. Right? So, and I also used to, like, I'm not even going to go into all my personal examples, but like the point of the matter is like, as soon as we stop blaming, as soon as we stop caring, I cared what he thought for so long, where it got to the point where it paralyzed me and I didn't want to talk to him ever, you know? A lot of people still like struggle with their relationship with their parents because of their childhood. And I'm telling you, the most liberating thing you can do is just accept them for who they are, not blame them because it wasn't their fault either. They went through hell to put their own children through hell, you know? And like, imagine making that mistake with your children and becoming an adult, recognizing that mistake and how you feel about the way, you know, it impacted your children. And there's nothing you can do to go back and change that. What's done is done, right? But it's about the recognition. It's just the recognition that everybody's, like the recognition of who people really are, and that if they act outside of who they really are, which is God and love, that's just their pain. And not to take it personally. When we take things personally is when we create that divide between us. We create that divide between us and the universe and source. So when we stop taking things personally and we say, hey, that narcissist that abused us in a relationship, they're just playing out their own trauma and projecting it onto me. And at the end of the day, I just feel a little sorry for them, you know, because that's something they got to work out. And I'm not going to take that personally. I'm going to walk away as a sovereign being. I'm going to just go into my own space, my own sacred space that I've created for myself, and get back into the receiving mode and be a magnet for whatever's meant to me, for me. And then wish nothing but good on that person, because that's what we're here to do anyways. Hold that space, right? Raise our vibration, be that light so others can see what that looks like. It's not to come shove information down people's throat. It's not to, try to get everyone to listen. Most of my family doesn't even know I have a YouTube channel. Most people who know me in person don't even know I have a YouTube channel. Because I don't do this to shove it down people's throat. I do it because I feel called to do it. And I say before every single video, Spirit, whoever is meant to hear this, let them be a magnet to this message. Let them hear it. Let that seed be planted. And I set my intention. And that's the difference between a lot of like religious fundamentalists and like people who are connected and really just like pulled and called to this work. But yeah, you understand where I'm coming from. I know you do. And so when we release all these expectations on everybody else and we just let them be who they are and let the world be what it is and fall into this place of surrender and receiving, that is when life becomes effortless. Does contrast happen? Absolutely. We're human beings living on earth. We're going to have contrast, but it doesn't even feel that way, because you know what? When something negative happens, there's always a gift in it. And what is that gift? And if you can find the gift, if you can find that silver lining, then you're home free. Every time. If something crazy could happen, and you can start recognizing it and being that observer and not blaming anyone and understanding people are coming from trauma, understanding why you're in that situation. It's that expansion of your consciousness, that greater understanding of everything. You, people, the world, the universe. And once we stop being so distracted and attached to those outside things, that's when we're super connected. Everything it's just a surrender, really. Does the action take place? Absolutely. I don't want anyone to get confused by the word surrender, because what happens is when you get into a place of receiving, it's like spirit will put what you need in front of you, and then you decide if you're going to take that action. And if you're fully aligned to receive, you're probably fully aligned to act. And this isn't your first rodeo, right? Once you get in the flow of it. In the beginning, it's hard because you still step into ego. You still take things personally. You still blame your past for why you act the way you do now. But it is a process. It takes years. This is chipping away at the way you see life. We are all heavily programmed. Heavily. Okay? So be easy on yourself, but in the same respect, be real with yourself. All right, guys. I'm sure my kids are starting to wake up now. But whoever needed to hear that, I hope it helps you. I want to trigger people, but for a good purpose. I want to trigger people into letting go, detaching from things that don't serve you, opening your heart up. Opening your heart up without worrying about, like, I'm vulnerable and something could happen because I'm being vulnerable right now. Nothing's going to happen if you can be the observer. If you set those proper boundaries for yourself. Set intentions every day. Anything that comes in that doesn't serve my highest good spirit, let that shit bounce off me. Those are the conversations I have with spirit every day. And you know what? Even though I got that message that because somebody got triggered by me saying that people should take accountability for everything that's happened to them, even though I got that, I knew what the gift was in that, right? And even though I blocked that person, because I set boundaries for myself, I do. And I send that person love. And I hope you get unstuck. But at the same time, thank you for co-creating with me, because this message needed to be heard, and it wouldn't have been heard if you didn't send me that message. So thank you. They're not blocked on YouTube. Maybe they hear this one. Get a second chance. But yeah, I'm just being silly, guys. All right, I'm going to get back inside. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your Tuesday. And I really feel this energy shifting. I feel like beautiful things are coming for those who are willing to be open to receive and let go of things that and create that space. When we let go, we create that space. And I really do believe that there's some really beautiful things. I feel the energy coming in. Like, I've been so expanded in my heart the past few days, and it feels good. And I think that, you know, at times it can be overwhelming. Even when you're when the energies are coming in, they can really hit you like in one of a million different ways. But if you're feeling good, sometimes even that can be overwhelming, because when your heart chakra, it feels blown the fuck open. It's almost like, I just gotta keep taking deep breaths. I just gotta keep taking deep breaths, because it's not the same feeling as an anxiety. But you know what I mean, when it just starts getting really intense to the point where you have to breathe through it. So if you're feeling that, because you're creating that space for more love, for a stronger connection with spirit, like, if you're creating that space, you might come into that, you know, those heart palpitations and that heart expansion, and just breathe through it. And don't be afraid. When I first started feeling that a few years ago, I don't know, 2016 or whenever I started this journey, it freaked me out a little bit. I was like, oh, something wrong with me, go to the doctor. But yeah, you'll recognize it, and just breathe through it, and be easy on yourself. And just because you're taking accountability and not blaming people, like, that doesn't mean that you can't be good to yourself. I think people think the way to be good on yourself, I keep trying to end the video and keep talking. The way to be good to yourself is to just be like, when somebody is feeling bad about because something happened to them and they still feel that trauma coming up, yeah, be good to yourself. But in the same time, being good to yourself is being real with yourself, right? A little floaty here. Being real with yourself. So what does that look like? What does being good to yourself look like? Really think about that. Sit with that. But all right, guys, I love you. Have an amazing day.